For us in SUSE HR, and for me personally, it is very important that we foster an environment where people can build a career internally. This is also one of the key people metrics we measure. With these videos, my goal is to showcase our SUSE success stories and inspire others to follow their footsteps. So today, I'm very happy to speak to you, Maik. You have a 15 years of progressing career at SUSE, and as I heard, you not only moved country twice with the company, but you also got to know your wife through SUSE. So can you tell us more about this?
Yeah, absolutely true. A lot of things have happened since I joined Novell in 2006. I started in the EMEA Financial Services Center in Dublin in the order management team. And when I started, back then, every order got manually processed, and I enjoyed pressing that button, book order, very much. Yeah. We worked very long hours at quarter ends, and we also had a lot of fun doing that. And I remember very fondly that we used to play table tennis at quarter ends. But also I have to say, as an expat, so I'm originally from Germany, I was missing home a lot. And back then in 2008, I wanted to relocate or go back home, and was able to switch countries, staying in the company. So I stayed in the company, moved to a customer service role, and because I used to work very closely with that local office at the time, it was a very easy switch. Yeah? Then after a while, the attachment merger happened, and the position of that customer service role that became obsolete, and I was lucky, I guess, at the time, as I was approached by the local sales team and was able to change into a renewal sales role. And during the first year doing that role, I was qualifying for President's Club and went on a super nice trip to Jamaica. Somehow I missed my return flight, though. I will spare you every detail. But I met a Spanish girl, and I knew her from the Dublin office, from working in the same building, but we never really spoke. And after missing that flight, she reached out to me and just had heard that I missed the trip, and just wanted to check if I was okay. That was the beginning of probably a 1-year long-distance relationship between Düsseldorf and Dublin, before I was able to move back to Dublin. So I went back to Ireland, and could stay in the role, in the same position, kept the same customer base, and everything that changed was the address. We got engaged then after a while, married, and have now 5-year-old twins.
Amazing, what a story. I spared the joke here about enrolling your kids as a SUSE intern, but I think we have to make sure that somehow Jamaica makes it again on the President's Club destination list, so you can actually go back with her and celebrate your anniversary with SUSE. So back to a bit more serious questions. How did you get from there to the renewal manager role?
Mm-hmm. In 2015, I think it was, SUSE was being enabled internally in the broader company to function on its own, and a designated SUSE renewal team was created at the time, and the position of a manager for that team became available, and I applied for that role. Back then, my manager helped me a lot to prepare for interviews and presentations for that role. And I was the one that got selected for the manager position. I started, probably now I need to think, with 7 reps in my team. And now I lead a team of 21 reps and 3 managers.
Wow, your team has grown a lot. And have you always known that you wanted to become a leader, or did the idea somehow evolve naturally? And also, I wonder if, what you think, why you were the one selected from the candidates.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I've asked the manager that made the decision at the time, and he told me out of pure desperation.
No, I'm sure not.
No, I was an individual contributor in the renewal team for 4 years, And during that time, I became a senior team member and was kind of the right hand of the manager of that team. I was involved in many day-to-day tasks already, and I was stepping in when he was on vacation or took on projects and extra responsibilities. And probably also because of the previous two roles that I had in order management and customer service, I gained a lot of cross-functional experience, and that helped in all aspects that were important for leading that team. I think a key was that my manager at the time, he supported that application and helped me to prepare for the interviews.
Yeah, I see. And what would be your advice to people who would like to make the same transition into a leadership role for the very first time?
I think one of the most valuable lessons I received from one of my first managers when I became a manager, was a concept that is called a six at the table. And you would need to imagine that you are hosting a dinner party, and the idea for that dinner party is you want to invite people that can directly or indirectly advance your career. So think about carefully in what direction you want to go in the future, and maybe it's a totally different team, or you would like to do something different, but that would define the people that you are inviting, and how relevant they are to that move. And then the second step is, of course, you need to think, how do you make yourself visible to them, that they see, oh, there's Maik. He is really good at reporting, so he would be an asset to our team. Partially that goes for things you probably do already. So you're working on projects, you're trying to improve processes, but you have to adapt this to the people that are important to your career, or can be important to your career. And also very important is that you need to reevaluate these 6 people, or could be 5, 7. That is not the point of it, but you need to kind of review, are these the right people? Are these still the right people? Or do I need to invite somebody else to my imaginary dinner party? And it's also, I think, it is important to have a very positive attitude towards change, and see that as opportunities and embrace it. If you would identify challenges, which I'm sure we all do on a daily basis, you need to not shy away from them, call them out, but always try to think of solutions and ways to improve them.
Great pieces of advice. I love the concept of the 6 at the table idea. And then the other topic you raised, right, the resilience and embracing change. I think they are so important nowadays, but it doesn't mean that it is always easy to embrace change, right? I also notice on myself that I take some changes easier than others, and then what helps me personally is self-reflecting, and then accepting that sometimes I need to give myself more time to process change, but then, as you said, trying to make an effort to remain positive and open-minded. And talking about kind of self-reflection and self-awareness, would you say you are a person who plans his career very consciously, or do you kind of more go with the flow and grab opportunities as they come along?
I think that comes and goes in cycles. Sometimes I'm so busy with the daily noise, and you are so under and have some pressure that you forget to take the time out to reflect on the future career. But what I do regular is I do look back and try to identify things that work very well, and others that might not work at all. And with that, you can focus on doing more of the good things, and maybe change the things that become obsolete over time. The key is that you try to constantly learn and grow, learn new things that can help you with your current role. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to become an astronaut or do something totally ridiculous. So me personally, I do embrace change when we become new tools, new new processes. I try to look into them as soon as possible to see what can they give me, or what can they do to me, where can they help me. This openness and that probably helps to remain stimulated in the job. And after so many years, you also need that. So you can't do the same over and over again. And the career is probably a subsequent result of that.
Understand. And as a last question, you as a manager, how do you support your team members' career aspiration?
That is a good question.
Pulling you out on that, right?
Yes. I would think that the renewal team is a natural entry point for many people to SUSE as a company, and people can move to other roles to sales into the field, for example. But of course, that I would only allow after 10 years of being in my team. No, that's just a joke. No, over the last 4, maybe 5 years, I had 5 of my team members that moved into different roles within the company, and 2 others, they became manager in my team. But reflecting on this a little bit and also looking into the recent PCON survey that we had, I need to do more on this. So it is one of my priorities in the team. I always acknowledge and appreciate career aspirations, because that means people are engaged and people want to move, want to improve, etc. And I would support this, and support from my end would come in form of coaching towards a midterm or long-term goal, or even the support of when somebody moves to be flexible with the current role in order to help that person to kickstart into the new role, so to make a transition easy within the company. I would try to look at it from this angle, that I would always like to keep somebody, a good employee progress within SUSE, and not risk that employee to look around and move to a different company. But I'm also relying on the fact that people need to proactively make it a topic, so they need to express that. I cannot put it into the person's mind that they need to want to, and some people might be very, very happy in the role they are. Then if they bring up the topic, then we can discuss this anytime, or during our one-to-one conversations or performance reviews, etc.
Yeah. Well, Maik, thank you very much for sharing your SUSE journey with me and all those tips and pieces of advice. I really enjoyed the conversation and the insight, and I particularly like the 6 at the table concept for networking. So I definitely start thinking about my own guest list.
I'm looking forward to the invitation to the dinner party.
Oh, okay, sure. Well, you bring the dessert then. Thank you, Maik.
Thank you.